Um, so, as I said before, in the summer of 1941, the invasion, from the point of view of the Nazis, goes very well. By day 17 of the attack, 300,000 Russians had been captured, 2,500 tanks, 250 or so aircraft destroyed. And the Russians just take enormous, enormous losses. And Snyder makes a big point of talking about the murder of Soviet prisoners of war. Most Soviet prisoners of war did not survive their captivity. The other thing is that if you got captured, Stalin didn't trust you. And so if the Germans didn't kill you, often the Soviet authorities would throw you into the gulag. So it was a horrific experience. And one of the reasons the Russian army fought so well is that they had soldiers behind the front lines that would shoot anybody that put down their guns and ran the other way. Stalin, one time during World War II, said, it takes a very brave man to be a coward in the Soviet army. So, as I said in the last podcast, you have two completely ruthless foes facing each other. But in the beginning, Hitler has the advantage. The descriptions of one of the long columns of Russian soldiers, someone wrote, a Nazi soldier wrote, "We suddenly saw a broad, earth-brown crocodile slowly shuffling down the road towards us. From it came a subdued hum like a beehive. Prisoners of war, Russians 6 deep. We couldn't see the end of the column. As they drew near, the terrible stench which met us made us quite sick. It was like the biting stench of the lion house and the filthy odor of the monkey house at the same time. But these were not animals, these were men. We made haste out of the way of the foul cloud which surrounded them. All the misery in the world seemed theirs. And of these 300,000, or this group, probably over 90% would be killed." By July 3rd, one of Hitler's officers in the Soviet, who was part of the attack, wrote, "It is probably not an exaggeration when I contend that the campaign in Russia has been won in 14 days." So by the middle of the summer of 1941, there's tremendous optimism. The Germans feel like everything is going to plan. But what happened is the Germans were so successful that they were moving so quickly that they actually outpaced their logistics. The German army outpaced their supply and communication lines. So the very success of the German army turned out to be a problem for the German army. And at this point, Hitler steps in and makes another catastrophic strategic decision. Army Group Center, and Army Group Center was the portion of the German invasion that was heading towards Moscow. The supply situation was becoming critical because they were moving so quickly that it was hard to keep the German army supplied, German logistics. So what Hitler did is that he sent some of the panzer groups and the panzers or tanks. He sent some of the panzer groups in Army Group Center. He sent them to the north to reinforce the drive towards Leningrad. And he peeled off some of the tanks from Army Group Center to the south to help the German units that were in Ukraine, who were also doing very well. And the German military brass was furious when Hitler did this, when he took these elements, these units away from Army Group Center, and some went north and some went south. And they protested, but Hitler said, "No, this is the way I want to do it." And Army Group Center was only 220 miles from Moscow at this point. And by doing this, by weakening Army Group Center, what Hitler does is he gives the Russians more time to gather reinforcements around Moscow. So Hitler on his own slows down the thrust, especially the thrust towards Moscow, which was moving at such a rapid pace that it had outrun its logistics. And instead of just slowing the army down and letting the logistics catch up to Army Group Center, Hitler starts peeling off units towards the north and south. And we come back once again to the saying, the observation or the doctrine, choose and maintain a strategic objective. This is what Hitler did not do in the Soviet Union. He did not choose Leningrad. He did not choose Moscow. He did not choose Ukraine. He chose all three, and he tried to. He basically he dissipated the strength of his army, the strength of the thrust of his army, because he refused to create or select exactly where it was he wanted to go, and this was going to come back to haunt him.